Out of the 6 most populated continents, Asia has produced the fewest NBA players. Despite a population of nearly 5 billion people, only
crazy.
29 Asian players have ever suited up in an NBA game,
Asians be getting
including
disrespected,
US-born
though.
players with an Asian descent. If we exclude players from Turkey, Israel, and Georgia who are geographically in Asia, but they compete in Eurobasket, these are the top 10 best Asian players in NBA history.
That is crazy. I ain't know they compete in Eurobasket and other ones don't. I ain't know that. Like, why do they?
Turkey, Israel, and Georgia, who are geographically in Asia, but they compete in Eurobasket, these
that's
are the
kinda-
top 10 best Asian players in NBA history. You might think that the first Asian players came to the NBA during the 90s or early 2000s, but you'd be wrong.
I ain't
In
know it was that
fact,
many.
the first Asian player got drafted before Earl Lloyd, Chuck Cooper,
What?
and Nat Clifton, the first 3 black NBA players who entered the league in 1950.
Hold on, what? It's some new information, ain't it? Y'all already know what to do. Hit that sub button, roll the 10K.
But Wataru Misaka came to the
Wataru
NBA in
Misaka.
1947, a 5'7" point guard born in Utah, to a Japanese family that migrated to the U.S. in the 1920s. Misaka played collegiate basketball at Weber College, the alma mater of Damian
You went to
Lillard.
Weber?
And in the early 1940s, Watt led Weber to 2 championships. He then enrolled in the University of Utah, where he won the 1944 NCAA tournament. And in 1947, he won the National Invitational Tournament
Stop
with
playing.
the Utes, after which the New York Knicks drafted him with the 61st pick in the BAA draft, as the league wasn't yet called the NBA.
BAA.
Thus, Misaka became the first non-Caucasian to play in the NBA. But his run in the league was short-lived. Wataru was cut after scoring 7 points in 3 games, and never
Damn.
received a full explanation as
Boy,
to why.
7 and 3, they
Critical
got rid of him?
observers might point to his race, since Misaka was often booed throughout his career due to
Damn.
anti-Japanese sentiment.
That was
in
him?
the leagues. Since Misaka was often booed throughout his career due to anti-Japanese sentiment in the World War II era. However,
course.
Misaka himself thought it was for basketball reasons.
Damn.
The Knicks had
Oh, he
too
thought he
many
was
guards on the
trash.
roster, and coming in at 5'7" and 150 pounds, Misaka wasn't exactly a physical
thought he
specimen
was
full
trash.
of long-term potential. And
Understandable.
even though his career was cut
Getting
short,
booed all the
and
time,
there
I
were
don't think
far better players, due to historical reasons, Misaka's name had to be mentioned.
First non-white player in the NBA. Mr. Misaka is here.
After
Mr.
Misaka,
Misaka.
it took more than 30 years for another Asian player to be drafted, and that player was Raymond Townsend, the 22nd pick in the 1978 NBA draft. Townsend was half American, half Filipino, becoming the first Asian player to win the NCAA championship in 1975
Okay.
with UCLA. However, the 6'3" point guard played only 3 seasons in the NBA, appearing in just 154 games, and that's why the number 9 spot on our list doesn't belong to him,
Damn.
but to another biracial player who came after him, becoming only the 4th Asian player in the NBA. It was Rex Walters, who's half white, half Japanese, and was
Half
selected
white, half
16th
Japanese. I
overall in the
wanna see his mom and
1993
daddy.
NBA draft.
Yeah.
I consider myself Japanese American. I just don't look it. People are always surprised. Now we got a guy like Jeremy Lin breaking barriers, and I'd like to think I played a small part in that. Walters made
That's
a bigger
fact.
mark in the NBA
But
than his
bro, who y'all think is the white? Is it the mama or the daddy?
predecessors,
Thanks to Danny.
staying in the league for
just
7
asking.
years.
I wanna
Standing at
find-
6'4", Walters
Oh, he was
mainly
6'4"?
came off the bench, averaging 4.6 points in 13 minutes of playing time. But this next player broke the stereotype of
I never
Asians
heard of
being
none of
small,
these dudes, I ain't
and him
gonna lie.
getting drafted was historic. In 1999, the 7-foot center Wang Zhizhu became the
Zhizhu.
first Chinese player drafted to the NBA, selected 36th overall by the Mavericks.
Okay.
And before he came to America, Wang was the Shaquille O'Neal of the Chinese Basketball Association. Playing for the Beiyou Rockets, Wang dominated the CBA, winning 6 consecutive championships from 96 to 2001, including the MVP title, the Finals MVP, and leading the league in blocks 4 times.
Okay, he
Wang
was
arrived in
definitely the
Dallas
Shaq.
after winning his last CBA championship title, when there were fewer than
eating out
10
there.
games left in the 2000-2001 season. 2 days after Dallas was eliminated from the playoffs, Wang hurried back to China to play in the 2001 East Asian Games, according to an agreement between the Chinese authorities and the Dallas Mavericks. When he returned, Wang helped the Rockets defeat Yao Ming's Shanghai Sharks by 1 point in the final, after which he came to the NBA for good. In 2002, his first full season, Zhizhu didn't really play much. But when he was on the court, he was solid, averaging 5.6 points and 2 rebounds in just 11 minutes of play.
Okay,
However,
5
what was
and 2 ain't bad.
extraordinary for a player of his size is that he shot 41% for 3, a better percentage than Dirk Nowitzki. If he played in the modern era,
he ain't shoot
Wang's
that
shooting
many times,
prowess
so you
would
can't say,
probably get him significant playing time. But in the early 2000s, shooting big
Hit
men
that
were
bitch.
considered
Hey,
odd.
he was the Chinese dirt. What you talking about? Stop playing
As
with
most
him.
coaches wanted their centers to battle in the post. And that's why Wong's career in the NBA didn't last too long. After a promising start in Dallas, he spent the next 3 seasons playing for the Clippers and the Heat, appearing in just 77 games and averaging 8 minutes per contest. Zizou then returned to the CBA, where he won another championship and Finals MVP, proving that his talent wasn't properly recognized in the U.S. And just
Nah,
like
he just-
Wong,
the
the Japanese
competition out here was
6'9"
different.
forward Yuta Watanabe made basketball history.
Watanabe?
Born in Japan in 1994, Watanabe became the first Japanese-born student athlete to secure an NCAA Division I basketball scholarship. Playing for George Washington University as a
What?
power forward, Watanabe struggled at first, but as time went on, he came into his own. As a senior, Yuta was George Washington's leading scorer at 16.3 points per game and second leading rebounder with 6.1 per game,
Okay.
while also leading the team in blocks. He was named the Atlantic 10 Defensive Player of the Year, becoming the first George Washington player to win the award. Then, after going undrafted in the 2018 NBA draft, Watanabe signed a 2-way contract with the Memphis Grizzlies. But he barely played for Memphis, appearing in just 33 games in his first 2 seasons, before signing a contract with the Raptors. In his first season in Canada, Watanabe appeared in 50 games, averaging 4.4 points
Okay.
in 15 minutes. However, just like Wong, the Japanese forward was an excellent 3-point shooter, making 40% of his shots from deep. He last played for the Grizzlies in 2024, after which he decided to return home to Japan due to his lack of playing time in the NBA. But even though his NBA career didn't really pan out, he still
I
played
ain't
for
never
6
seen
years in
this
the league,
before.
which is above average, mainly because he was a very good defender and rarely made mistakes. But even though he wasn't that great defensively, this next player was
Who was
supposed to be
that?
the Asian Dirk Nowitzki. Yi
What?
Jianlian was a dominant
Yi
center in the
Jianlian.
CBA, winning the MVP award and 3 championships between 2004 and 2006. Standing at 7 feet with a soft touch, Yi averaged 25 points and 11 rebounds per game, playing for the Guangdong Tigers in 2007 while
Guangdong
shooting over
Tigers.
58% from the field and 82% from the free throw line. Yi was selected 6th overall by the Bucks in the 2007
he
NBA
was
draft,
selected
ahead of
6th?
Joakim Noah, Marc Gasol, Nick Young, and several other high-profile players. The Bucks thought Jianlian was going to be something between Dirk
Oh, he the
and
one had
Yao.
that game with
It didn't
Yao
really
Ming
work
that
out
went
that way.
crazy.
As a rookie, Yi averaged 8.6 points and 5.2 rebounds in
ain't
25
bad.
minutes on the court, which wasn't too bad. But unlike the guys he was supposed to mimic, Yi didn't have a strong work ethic or a humble mindset. Yi seemed to be more concerned about playing in a city with a large Asian community than actually getting on the court, and demanded a trade despite the Bucks guaranteeing him a place in the rotation and more playing time. But Yi didn't want to be in Milwaukee. So the Bucks traded him to the Nets after his rookie season. Jianlian spent 2 years in New Jersey, and his second year there, he averaged 12 points, 7
Okay.
rebounds, and 1 block per
Stop
game,
playing with
while
him.
making 37% from 3 and 80% from the
ain't
free throw
bad.
line. When Yi first played against Yao Ming, he scored 19 points and grabbed 9 rebounds, including 2 3-pointers, while Yao recorded 28 points and 9 rebounds. That game between the two was watched by over 200 million
Yeah, it was
people
crazy.
in China,
Yeah, it was
making it one of the most watched games in NBA history. After the game, Yao called Yi's
That's
talent
crazy.
unbelievable, and Tracy McGrady said Yi had a tremendous upside in this league. However, due to injuries, a poor work ethic, and an unwillingness to adapt to the NBA lifestyle, he was out of the league after 5 seasons, averaging 8 points and 5 rebounds in 272 games. But nearly 20 years before Yi Jianlian was drafted, another Asian-born player became a lottery pick. It was Ronnie Cycli, a Lebanese-born player, who became one of the first players drafted from outside the U.S. Born in Beirut, Cycli spent his youth in Lebanon and Greece before moving to the States in 1983, where he attended Syracuse University. As a junior, the 6'11" center led the Orange to the NCAA Finals, averaging 22 points and 11 rebounds per game. But the Indiana Hoosiers defeated them in the championship game. Cycli graduated from Syracuse as the school's all-time leading rebounder, second in block shots, and fourth in scoring. At the time, he was only the second player ever to record 1,000 points and rebounds during his tenure at Syracuse. Drafted 9th overall by the Miami Heat, Cycli hit the ground running, winning the award for the most improved player in his second season. In a career that lasted 11 years, the Lebanese center averaged 14.7 points and 9.5 rebounds per game. And at the time of his retirement, he was the best Asian player ever in the NBA. But if there was a title for the best Asian sixth man of all time, it would go to Jordan Clarkson.
Clarkson Asian?
is half black, half Filipino from his mother's side.
Say, swear to God, I did not know Jordan Clarkson was that nigga. Got all them tattoos. You would have thought that nigga was blackity black. Look at him.
And even though he was born and raised in the U.S., Jordan holds Filipino citizenship and has represented the Philippines national team. Drafted in 2014 as the 46th overall pick, Jordan quickly showed his knack for scoring, averaging 12 points per game as a rookie.
He the
In
best.
2018,
He the
while
best
playing
Asian
for the
player
Utah
ever.
Jazz,
Who better
Clarkson
him?
won the Sixth
Got
Man
me
of the Year
from-
award, averaging 18.4 points per game. Between 2020 and 2022, he played in 24 playoff games for the Jazz, averaging 17 points off the bench in just 28 minutes on the court, which further
he's a
established
bucket
his reputation as a
what he do.
microwave scorer. From 2018, Clarkson represented the Philippines on the international scene, most notably playing for them in the 2023 World Cup, where he averaged 26 points per game.
was
And
cooking.
just like Clarkson, there's another current NBA player who is half Asian
Clarkson
from his
not
mother's
better
side.
than-
Rui Hachimura
Rui
is half
Hachimura-
Japanese,
Macho not
half
better than Clarkson,
Beninese,
though,
and was
bro.
born and raised in Japan. After dominating the high school competition, in 2016, Rui signed a letter of intent to join Gonzaga University. With the Bulldogs, he didn't play much initially, but by his junior season, he had become one of the best players in the NCAA. Hachimura averaged 19.7 points and 6.5 rebounds per game, while making 59% of his shots, including 42% from three, which earned him the Conference Player of the Year award. In 2019, Hachimura announced that he would forego his final year of eligibility and declared for the 2019 NBA Draft, where he was drafted 9th overall by the Washington Wizards. Rui thus became the first Japanese player to get drafted in the first round, and he justified this selection by scoring 13.5 points per game as a rookie. So far, in his 6-year career, Hachimura has proven to be one of the most efficient
Yeah, he
scorers
aight,
in the
he
league,
aight, bro.
especially in the playoffs.
He aight.
His 62% effective field goal percentage currently ranks 4th all-time, despite limited playoff experience of only 31 games. But due to his shooting prowess, a sturdy 6'8" frame, and the mentorship from LeBron, Hachimura could have the longest career out of all Asian players. Unless, of course, Young Hansen
Yang
becomes the
Hansen?
Chinese version of Nikola Jokic. But even if Rui or Hansen
Hansen like a project. He ain't. I think he's like a project. So it's like
somehow became the league MVP, they would hardly reach the popularity that a certain Asian player enjoyed
Jeremy
in
Lin?
2012.
What?
Of course, we're talking about Jeremy Lin, who's mostly known for the Linsanity and those magical few months when he played for the Knicks. Fighting even to stay on the roster, not getting recognized by security, and sleeping on his brother's couch, Lin finally got an opportunity on February 4th, 2012. After
got a
several
cookie
Knicks guards were injured, Lin got a chance to show what he's got against the
got
New
a-
Jersey
got a
Nets
cookie
and their all-star point guard, Darren Williams. Playing like a man possessed, Lin finished with 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists, all career highs in a 99-92 Knicks win. Over the next 2 weeks, Jeremy averaged 24 points and 9 assists per
Nah, he
game,
was cooking.
leading New York to 7 consecutive victories and transforming from a virtual nobody to a global sensation. Lin had the second highest jersey sales in the NBA that season, which is amazing considering he only played 35 games that year. And even though the rest of his career didn't quite compete with the hype of Linsanity, Jeremy still had a solid 9-year career, averaging 11.6
solid.
points
It was
and
solid.
4.3 assists per game,
was solid.
and winning an NBA championship with the Raptors in 2019. But even though Clarkson and Hachimura are arguably better players than Lin, the 6'3" guard from Taiwan transcended basketball and had a far bigger cultural impact. Because of his size
fact.
and rags to riches basketball story that's almost like a fairy tale, Lin broke down racial barriers that
Yeah, that's
kept
a
Asian
fact.
players from competing
I
in the
understand why he
NBA
number 2
and
on the list. I
popularized
can
basketball in
understand.
Asia like no other player, apart from one very tall
man
guy.
right
The
here?
only Asian player more popular than Lin and the synonym for Asian basketball worldwide is the Hall of Fame center Yao Ming. The Great
That nigga
Wall
was
of China
produced
was
in the
unlike
lab.
anything seen before in the NBA. Standing at 7'6", Yao is one of the 4 tallest players in NBA history, and yet he could play like a guard. With a feathery touch around the basket, a silky smooth jumper, and some fancy behind-the-back moves, Yao was an anomaly. An 8-time All-Star and 5-time All-NBA member, Yao was one of the best players in the world in his prime, and one of the hardest to guard. The Chinese giant averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists per game in his career. But those numbers don't do his talent justice. If it wasn't for all those injuries to his feet and knees,
He'd been
Yao
him.
could have been the MVP and one of the greatest centers ever. But unfortunately, injuries forced him to retire at the age of 30. But even in just 8 seasons, Yao did more than enough to become a legend, and he's the best Asian player of all time.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I like this list. I'm not mad at the list. I'm not mad at the list. I'm not mad at the list, bro. I'm not mad. But look, man, like, comment, subscribe, bro. Y'all want to see a video where I did see the Asian experiment where they created Yao Ming? Go watch that video. It should be somewhere here. But I'm going to see y'all next video. Y'all already know what's going on. No cap.